Hi everyone, in today's video I am going to show you how to make this winter berries wreath using copic markers. And the cool thing about this design is that we are going to draw in the different elements for the wreath freehand, and it's really easy and this comes together very quickly. So let's go ahead and get started. To start, I just traced my washi tape, which is about a 2-inch circle, to make the center of the wreath, and I used a cool gray marker in 0. That's the color I like to use whenever I'm sketching. And then I took an E55 marker. You can use any light brown color to sketch in a little branch of berries. And the technique that I did was I followed the circle about 1/4 of a way round, and then I had little Y shapes coming off of the circle towards the outside and then also towards the inside of the circle to make the branches. And then I just added some little circles with my R24 marker to draw in the little berries, and you can add them however you like. I put them in little clusters, and I had some directly on the main branch and some hanging off of the twigs. Just vary it up a little bit. Whatever looks interesting to you will work. And then we're going to do the same thing right across the circle with another little branch with those little Y shapes kind of coming off the inside and the outside of the circle with our brown marker to make it look like a little twig. And then we're going to draw some berries in on those twigs as well. And I'm just kind of clustering them in little spots along the twigs and then along the main circle there as well. And I'm going to make them in different sizes as well. So some are small, some are medium. They're all pretty much, I would say, within the same size range. Maybe some are like half the size of the larger berries, but they're pretty close, although they're all a little different. And now we're going to do the same, and we're going to add another branch with some little twigs extending from the branch. So we have another place to put our berries. And this is such a fun design to just kind of sit and veg out and create, because there's really no wrong way to do it. You just draw along the circle and you have little Y shapes or wishbone shapes coming off the circle. And then you just add little dots of color right on top of those twigs in little mismatched clusters. Now we're going to add a darker little twig, and I'm using my E44 for this, and we're going to add it in 2 spots along the circle using that same technique of following the circle and then having little, like those little curved Y shapes come off the circle. And then for that one on the top, I just added a few additional little twigs there just because I wanted to have more spots to add my berries. And now we're going to add some little blueberries here. I thought it would be nice to have 2 different colors of berries on our little winter berry wreath. I'm going to use the same technique that I did for adding the red berries, just making little circles along the little twigs. And I'm being sure to cluster them on either side of the branch so it'll look unbalanced if you only have a berry on one side of your twig. So I try to have them on either side, and I sort of arrange them in a little bit of a diagonal so they're not always directly across from each other. And then I thought we could use another little branch up top, so I added in my little branches, and then we're going to add some more berries. And now we're going to add in 3 pine cones. And to make the pine cone shape, I start with the tip of the pine cone and I make a little upside down triangle. It also looks like a diamond ring, like if you were to look at a cartoon of a diamond ring with a broad part of the triangle at the top and the narrow part at the bottom. And then we're going to make a little pyramid of those upside down triangles. And we're just going to keep our pyramid going until we hit the base of our wreath. So the little, until we hit the base of the circle. And I'm going to add another little pine cone up here in the top corner. I thought it would be nice to have 3 pine cones here on either side of the wreath. And now we're going to add in a little bit of detail here. So I'm putting a little V at the base of our upside down triangle. And that's just to help give the pine cones a little bit of definition so they just start to take shape. We are not going to make exact replicas of pine cones here. We're just trying to add enough color and contrast to give the appearance of a pine cone. Your mind will fill in the rest as long as we're somewhere in the ballpark of what a pine cone might look like. So this is not, you don't have to be exact here. Just have a little bit of fun making your little upside down triangles and V's. And then I'm going to add some E71 over the entire base of the pine cone just to tie all the little pieces together so they look like one object and not like the berries, like several different little objects. Now we're going to start filling in our wreath by adding some green leaves, and I'm going to start with my G21 marker. And as I add in my leaves, I'm going to make sure that every time I add a leaf on the outside of the triangle that I'm going to also add one on the inside just to keep our leaf balanced. Your leaves should all be going in the same direction, as are my berries, and my little twig branches are all going in the same direction. They're all headed counterclockwise. So whichever side you decide to use, if you want your wreath to go clockwise, that's fine, but you should pick a direction, either counterclockwise or clockwise. Otherwise, you'll notice right away if you start mixing up clockwise facing images and counterclockwise facing images, it'll just start to look unbalanced. So I'm just going to fill in now some blue-green leaves. And once I finish that, we're going to add some little sprigs of pine, or maybe these are spruce, just some like little Christmas tree fir branches here. And I'm going to use a dark green marker here. All the colors are on the caps on the side of the screen. And again, I'm trying to make sure that my little fir branches, that they are all going in the same counterclockwise direction, and I'm making sure to add them to both the inside and the outside of the ring. If you don't add enough foliage on the inside part of your wreath, it'll start to look a little bit naked on the inside and a little bit unbalanced. So as you're going along, it's a good rule of thumb to every time you put something on the outer edge of the wreath, put something else on the inside ring. That'll keep you nice and balanced. And now I'm going to add some more little fir branches, but with a lighter green. And this is just to give a little bit of interest and a little bit of contrast here so that it looks like we have all different kinds of foliage coming out of our pretty little winter berries wreath. And I'm going to add some more of the little fir branches with my G29. Here I'm just adding a little bit of shading onto some of my lighter green branches. You could do that. You don't have to do this step. Or you could just add the G29 branches all on their own. But I'm just kind of playing around and experimenting. I'm going to add some shading on my blue-green leaves with a BG75. The base color was BG72. I find that the BG 72 and 75 look really, really nice paired up against the G21 and G24 leaves, which are our lighter green leaves. Now I am going to shade in those lighter green leaves. And I've sped things up just a little bit here just because this is a little repetitive. And now we're going to color in our berries. So for the blueberries, I'm going to go around the base of the berry with a B99, trying to leave the centers light. So as you make your berries, the trick is to leave some white space on the inside or some light space. And if you accidentally cover it up, it's okay. You can add that detail in with a white gel pen. But this is a good exercise to just practice getting used to leaving a little bit of white space on your objects. because your coloring will look better the more that you get used to leaving highlights naturally without having to add them in with a gel pen. Although I'm a big fan of the gel pen, I don't think I make any Copic piece without it, but that is one of those things I am working on also. Now we're going to add in the shading for our little red berries, and I'm using R39 around the centers. And if I did this again, I probably would not have used such a dark R39. I really like those light red berries. The way that the base coat looked, I might have just gone over it again with another R24 and kept those berries pretty light. But this works also. They just look more like a maroon colored berry instead of a red. And now I'm adding some YG little branches as well, and I'm just going to add them in a few little spots. This is just to give a little bit of brown to the wreath, just to give it a little contrast. And now I'm going to go over the whole wreath, and I'm doing this in real time with the G21 in these really light wispy strokes. And the reason for this is just to give the wreath a sense of fullness and a little bit of whimsy with those little, it just looks like maybe long pine needles sticking out from the edges. Just makes it pretty. And now I noticed that my pine cones were kind of getting lost in the wreath with all that contrast of the berries and the leaves. So I'm just adding some darker shading to the pine cones in that spot where I put my little V. I just darken them up a little bit. Now we're going to turn this into a holiday card. So I'm using a wonky stitch die by MFT Stamps. And I'm going to add some white highlights now. I'm going to put a little dot in the center of each berry, just to give a little highlight there. And then I'm going to add what looks like snow on the tops of our pine cones. So in the lighter parts of the pine cones sitting right on top of those little dark V's, I'm going to add my little flecks of snow. And then I'm going to add a little bit of snow, just dotting it on some of the little leaves along the wreath, just to kind of make the whole thing pop a little bit more and just give a little bit more interest to things. We're going to stamp our sentiment. This sentiment is from MFT Stamps. It was part of the Snow Globe card kit that they released earlier this year, a couple months ago. Any basic holiday greeting would work here. And we're going to add the whole card or the whole card panel to a blueberry colored cardstock. I just really like the blue outline against that the pretty wreath. So that is our card for today. I hope you give this Winterberries wreath a try. It's a really, really fun and relaxing project to work on, and I think that you will really impress your friends and loved ones if you send them this card this season. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you again soon in the next video.